G'day mate, and how the bloody hell are you? Welcome to In the Back of My Head podcast, episode 90. It's a creative journal where I ramble and rave about creativity and whatever is in the back of my head, try and make some sense of the clutter, try and straighten some things out, try and make some room for other things, just try and figure out what I actually think about stuff. Try and work it out. And if it helps you in any way, bloody brilliant. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. This podcast is all about creativity. That's mostly what I ramble on about. However, today's episode is about political communication and commentary, both online and over a pint. So a bit of a switch up. I sprinkle this shit in throughout the other episodes, but this one's going for it. So buckle up. Hope you enjoy it, mate. I feel like this episode has been a while in the making, but not from actual active work, just something that I've wanted to talk about for some time and try to figure out what I actually wanted to say, what I actually think about this topic. And I sort of realized towards the tail end, especially after some recent events, that just saying something will work it out for myself. Just having a bit of a ramble will work it out. So the possibility of me sticking my foot in it is somewhat high. But knowing myself, I'll probably backtrack and clarify and check myself at as many points as I possibly can, so maybe I shouldn't worry too much. But as I work on this podcast more, and as I get more politically minded, I find myself both more energized and excited for being involved in political thinking, discussions, and movements. I also find myself impossibly crippled by my lack of deeper knowledge or my lack of coherent articulation of what I actually think, what I actually believe I know, yada yada. And I'm sure you ask yourself the same question. What do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think about a particular topic that has come across your lap? Be it the genocide in Palestine, be it late stage capitalism. Pick a topic and ask yourself, what do you think about it? And what we actually are asking ourselves, what do I believe? And that goes to other people. What do you think? What do you actually believe on a particular topic? So I don't intend for this episode to be strictly political, but rather just talking about the thoughts that will run through our heads that paralyze us when it comes to actually standing for something. And this isn't in a broader sense. This isn't necessarily something that I'm particularly well versed in. But all I can speak to is that I am passionate and time rich, and so have delved into a lot more politics, as many others have over the past 5 to 7 years. And so I have spoken about it a lot more to friends over a pint. And I have seen in others, just in friends of mine, those that are paralyzed. And I feel paralyzed myself at many times. Because I think we all crave certainty. That's the most human thing to desire, is that we are blessed and cursed with complex, incredible minds that can comprehend far more than any other creature, than any creature should ever have comprehended. And we understand the impossible complexity and nuance of the world, and so goddamn do we want certainty above all other things, which is nigh impossible to have. Besides on your basic sky is blue, gravity exists, that kind of shit. World is round. And even then, some disagree. Bunch of dumb cunts. And I guess I see in myself and I see in my mates the issue of tricking yourself between, do you actually have a strong belief on something, or do you have a strong articulated belief on something? Can you have strong leanings and strong beliefs and strong thoughts without having the necessary toolkit to actually articulate those beautifully and coherently to other people, be it over a pint, or be it online, be it in simply an Instagram story, what have you? Do you have that toolkit? Do you have that skill set? Are you a communicator? Are you a political communicator? It's something that I've spoken about before in the form of writing in general, writing lyrics, writing poetry, writing what have you, that people can get quite lost in their heads when it comes to why me? Why would I say something? Why would I say something in a certain way? Who wants to hear this tale from myself? When everybody is sort of repeating the same stories and the same points and the same views to one another. And I strongly believe that you can hear the same thing 1,000 times until you hear it said in exactly the right way by the right person at the right time, when it finally clicks. And you see this when you're trying to learn more technical things. A technical concept that is not gelling with the way that your brain works until someone gives you a particular metaphor on the concept you're trying to grasp, and suddenly you go, fuck. Yeah, alright, I get it now. That makes sense. I understand that. I think there's a great value in saying things in your way, in your natural way. Communicating things how people expect from you will often gel with those who you already connect with. And in fact, they might need to hear a certain concept from you for it to actually click. However, on this topic of being paralyzed, and kind of the point of why I want to have a yarn about this topic, is because I don't actually think you need to say fucking anything. A dumb line. Well, it's a great line. I think it's a great line, but a line that stuck with me from Star Wars, of all places, was only Sith deal in absolutes. And fuck with the direction of Star Wars these days, but as a kid that really stuck with me. The only Sith deal in absolutes. And we live in a funny time where, in order to gain popularity online, I suppose this has always been the case, regardless of being online or old school radio, newspapers, or just a preacher in the dirt, what have you. A good trait, or a desirable trait, a fun trait, is that of having hot takes, that of having strong opinions, strong-willed, being loud, being certain. Going back to that idea that we crave, more than anything, certainty. To hear someone speak with certainty and deep knowledge and passion is liberating. Because we can believe in this certainty as well. And it's also fun. I am deeply attracted to personalities that have hot takes, that are passionate, that are dramatic, that are over the top, that dress everything up in colour, full kaleidoscopic colour, as they discuss whatever they want to discuss, and they rant and rave. I want it to be like I'm watching a play, like I'm watching a film, that this is drama, this is cinema. Just as someone makes a point, again over a pint, I want it to be dressed up. Dress it up for me, please, entertain me. It's deeply desirable, deeply fun, and it works well in person and it works well online, but I mainly like it when the topic at hand is loose and silly. To have a strong, dumb opinion on a film and be really passionate about it is a damn fun time. Entertainment. Pure entertainment. And it can be quite assuring and liberating as well, though, in a political space, for people to have colourful, flippant, and direct language that lays it out on the table and says what needs to be said, says what they mean, and doesn't dress it up. That's contradicting myself. I think it's quite fun and free when you hear people talk politically in colourful language, describing the other side as a bunch of dumb cunts. That does make it clear, that does make it straightforward. That speaks, actually, like the language of the people, that speaks like a normal fucking person. When I say dress it up, I want it to be dressed up in colour and excitement and passion, fiery red hot blood, rather than dressed up in political speech, political jargon, more like the press, more like politicians, yada yada. But the times that I enjoy these traits in people is only when there is a glimmer or a flicker or a hint that this person is malleable, that their worldview is malleable, because they aren't actually tied to it. It's not an identity, it's a view, it's an understanding that they've arrived to, and when new information is presented to them, they will take it on board and adjust, reshape what they believe, come to new conclusions. Sidebar, but I think it's always one of the most frustrating things watching politicians talk about anything, is that when presented with cold hard facts that they were at some point wrong, incorrect, that they refuse to acknowledge it, refuse to believe. And it's a deeply unattractive trait to dig your heels in when given that new information, when presented with, you were wrong, mate. You fucked up. You lied. We have proof that you lied. And they're like, no. I would never. That interview of Donald Trump when he's being handed papers became a bit of a meme of like, hey, here's COVID stats that actually prove that you were wrong about a bunch of shit. And he's like, no. You're lying, mate. Now, I say I like this flamboyancy, I like this colour when presenting these kind of ideas, when I'm presenting your arguments. But, given that we also then get all of our information from online, and I suppose this would be the case in any era, as I said, but like, we live in the time that we live, and so we get all of our information, our political ideas, political thoughts from Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and Reddit and what have you. Might get a spattering of news from like mainstream, but otherwise, mostly it's coming from social media. And social media rewards the absolutes, rewards the hot takes, it rewards the over the top, the drama. Hopefully you have developed strong critical thinking skills, and those that you were looking to online are well researched, somewhat experts in their field, at least somewhat educated. But kind of regardless of what information you're getting, the way that you're getting it, I feel like it encourages then us just to do it in the real world. And that's the point of this, is like the translation from how we learn and what we learn to then presenting it ourselves to people in person and in stories and in posts and in whatever format you, as just a normal everyday person, present strong political beliefs and ideas. I feel like there's the encouragement, there's the expectation to present in the way that you originally received it, which is hot and over the top and dramatic. But then funnily enough, on the flip side of that, civility gets weaponized. People say, you're being too hot-headed, you're being too dramatic, you're being too passionate. Can we keep it civil for this discussion, please? Even when we're talking about deeply passionate, important topics, because people are dying and because social safety nets are being eroded and late-stage capitalism is destroying the world around us. So it's good to get passionate. So there's a flip side there, but overall, I feel like there is a deep concern and anxiety when it comes to just sharing these thoughts, these beliefs that we have online with people or over a pint in person. If I'm in a hopeful mood, then I believe that in this age of having access to all of human history and knowledge at our fingertips is in the process of bringing us about to a new kind of political awakening, that the level of discourse and the drama and the intensity of everything is pointing towards the fact that we are all learning more than we can possibly truly grasp, and on the horizon there is more understanding, a greater awareness of how the world works for the majority of people on the planet. If I'm being particularly hopeful about the future, it's incredibly exciting. It's also, I find, very disarming, the fact that we know so much stuff on a very surface level. We know a lot about endless conflicts and endless happenings around the world. The fact that protests and wars and things can spark up in endless number of countries on a particular day, and we can kind of know about them all without truly understanding the lead-ups and the real happenings of what's on the ground. Or we can know so much about just history of the world, and then just the politics in our own town, what have you. The amount of knowledge that we have on a very surface level is just insane. And so to actually have strong opinions, or strong arguments rather, articulated arguments for every topic, is, I think, again, paralyzing. And the reason this came about, the reason this whole episode exists, the reason this thought exists in my brain, is because I have gotten, as I said, a lot more politically active. I've been consuming so much more political content and researching stuff. I mean, quote unquote researching, and formulating what I think of the world, and actually getting more involved in boots on the ground local politics is, to a minor degree, in the grand scheme of things. That has also brought about many more chances for me to have discussions with people, be it just mates, be it people online, be it people out in the streets at protests and things like this, chances to actually articulate my views on things. And I'm not great at it, because I feel quite comfortable communicating about creativity. That's the point of this podcast. It's the thing that I do the most of, is run around in my little head and try and figure out the best ways of approaching creativity and just living a passionate, poetic, enjoyable life as a creative. And so I can rant and rave and actually feel quite confident in all that. But then when it comes to talking politics, I'll have people who don't know fucking shit about nothing run rings around me, because I'm not a political communicator in a way that can work online. And that's again where we learn how to communicate this stuff. It's not in my blood. It's a little bit more ethereal, the way that I communicate and retain information. I'm good at retaining a lot of information about a lot of different things, but one thing I'm really bad at is retaining figures and dates and stats. And when getting into a very short, fiery discussion with someone, these are the kind of things that really win you points, which is not the way I want to think about political discussions anyway. But if you've got facts and figures on your side, then it's a lot easier to discuss and to present ideas to someone. But because that's not how my brain works, holding on to that sort of information, I get very overwhelmed in conversation and I kind of freeze up, again, get paralyzed. But I had someone message me post a protest that I went to a couple of weeks ago with some criticisms of the protest and some hot thoughts, and I kind of froze up. But luckily in this case it was a message. And so I thought to myself, no, take a second and go write it down. So I took their message and I went away with it, and I sat and I wrote it down. It took me about half an hour to write it down. I didn't write even a response to them. I don't think I responded directly to them. But what I did do is I actually extrapolated out my thoughts on a particular topic, in this particular topic, and found myself very calmly arriving to the thing that I actually believe about what they said. And I think that's hard to do for a lot of people. In the moment, you take a sip of beer from your delicious ice cold pint of lager, they spout some bullshit, you put your beer down, and you need to respond right now. And for those who are good at it, fantastic. Debaters, communicators, those who are far more learned but also far more capable of retaining this kind of information at an arm's reach at any time, those are the people you should be having discussions with, or should be having discussions with one another rather. And I don't mean with this as well that that you should just shy away from discussion, that you should shy away from talking about stuff, but I do think that if it's crippling for you, that you don't need to feel dumb for not being a spokesperson or a political communicator just at the pub or just in your stories. It's good to discuss things, but much like anything, I think you need to find the right people that you can discuss with, and that includes finding people of alternate viewpoints. But you can't just discuss, I as a socialist aren't going to go and have a chat with a Nazi just because I need to challenge my own views. If they're coming in with ill intent, that's not a worthwhile discussion to be had. But you find people who you have differing views with or similar views with, who you also can communicate calmly and rationally with and easily. We all need that. We all need a couple of friends that you really can do that with. But I don't think you always need to be ready to fucking go. Because it's a very individualist kind of mentality, I feel, and I think that's coupled to the internet as well, that everyone needs to be having hot takes and putting them out there, be fiery, be ready, be a spokesperson, be a mouthpiece. But if you actually want to be part of a movement, you are part of a movement. And at the front are commentators, communicators, spokespeople, historians, people with boots on the ground, people who actually understand, and people who actually are experts on the matter. And I think it's bloody reasonable to listen to those, again, with excellently developed critical thinking skills, but listen to the experts, trust the experts, and just share the experts' opinion. I mean, share it as in this can become your opinion. Again, with critical thinking, you can then shift it and change it, sculpt it slightly. But I mean, actually just share it. When someone asks you, can you explain this complex topic to me? You go, no, I don't, I can't do that. That's not my bag. I'm not a communicator like that. But here's some places to go. If you want to fucking get an idea of what's going down, here's where to go. If you're someone that takes time to formulate your thoughts, take your fucking time. Take your time, mate. The rally I went to a couple Sundays ago was a anti-fascist rally, a counter rally to the March for Australia rally. And the thing that was sent to me on Instagram by a mate challenged the way that the speakers were communicating to the audience on our side at the speeches prior to the march, and discussed how language is used in these spaces and the lack of poetry that there is. And so this was my response that I wrote down, which is very tied to Australia, tied to the way that we communicate. Our reality is sculpted through language. What we see is but raw clay. And for those of us who think in language, we are destined or cursed to be at the whim of our own tongue. My political knowledge is extremely limited, especially of this country, but I did grow up here and I know what I've heard, which is not a lot. This country is sanitized, passionless, and compliant. We've fought and bickered, but our language is soft. We share similarities in the way that we speak to the Irish, the Scots, the Brits. Makes sense given this country's bloody immigrant history, but though we speak with colour and with wit, we don't speak with love. This is a country of mind your own business. This is a country of she'll be right, mate. The way we speak sculpts the world around us. Let your tongue spit fire, blood, and filth. I'm slowly learning to let mine pass my teeth. And so I hope this made some sense, and I hope that this was like not too vapid. I didn't want to get like too into particular worldviews or anything like that. This is speaking about just how we communicate with each other in these spaces as just normal people. I'm not talking about communicators. I'm talking about just normal folk who are getting politically minded, who are getting riled up, and fucking thank God that people are getting riled up. Thank God that I'm feeling more riled up. But then it also begs you to fucking talk about it. Communicate with people. And that is scary and not everyone's forte, to be a debater and to come in with stats and figures off the top of your fucking head. But you should also speak with passion. You should also speak with love. Speak with filth. Let your tongue run rampant when it needs to. And the way that we communicate these kind of ideas of any political leading certainly has impact on those around us and the grander goals and movements for sure. So it's good to be careful. It's good to be careful. But I guess the last thing I want is for myself or for my mates to feel paralyzed. One last thing on this is that, just to wrap it up, is actually more just my experience from going to the anti-fascist counter rally, as encountering the fascist rally, to be clear. As encountering the Nazis. As in being amongst the crowd that threw fists at the Nazis. And God bless the comrades that did. But I just wanted to speak to, because I know that, this is for my mates. These podcasts are for my mates. These podcasts are for those of my mates that are like me, who are realistically quite timid but passionate, and do live through love. And look at the world and go, what the fuck? What the fuck? Now I've got some thoughts on this. And watching rallies like those, watching political rallies online, on Instagram and yada yada, on TikToks, the violence is very confronting, and it is fucking scary, and it was confronting seeing it in person. I was about 20 meters back, a number of rows back from where there was fists being thrown by both Nazis and the cops. And maybe this is naivety, but my experience on the ground was actually quite calm. That I never felt in danger. That was the most intense situation that I've probably ever been in. And my biggest takeaway was that I was part of a big crowd of like-minded people that were looking out for each other, and that realistically, in the moment, you're quite safe. There are those who are perhaps braver and bolder, who put themselves on the front line, who will take a lot more grief, a lot more physical violence from both cops and the right wing. But to my mates who just want to be another body in the crowd, who want to bring up the numbers a little bit, and are like, oh shit, is everything going to go down? My experience, just from that one violent rally, was that if you want to go and stay safe and feel like you're part of a bigger group that will look out for each other, you will get that. I believe you will get that. Things could escalate much more in the future, especially if the cops get a lot more violent towards the crowds en masse. However, my experience was that it was actually pretty easy to stay safe, if you so desire. So I look forward and am now emboldened a bit more to go to a few more anti-fascist rallies. Keep them the fuck out of Australia. So this one was a lot more intense and political than I normally get. Normally it's all about creativity, but this one's been rattling around in my head for some time, so I wanted to speak about it for myself, but hopefully for some other people that are also feeling passionate riled the fuck up, but are pretty paralyzed to actually speak on stuff. Just share shit, go to shit, and be part of something bigger than yourself. And you don't need to be a spokesperson, you don't need to be a fucking political commentator. You're one of many of a grand political movement that is fighting fascism and fighting for a better world for everybody. Alright mate, fuck me. Let's see if I can actually edit this down and feel comfortable posting it. The irony of recording this episode, then not being able to actually find the goal to fucking post it would be kind of funny, but it's a possibility. I've got another one. I've got another episode that's about just creativity and how we consume art in a more active manner. That'll be next one, if I finish it, or I'll get distracted by another topic. That's this episode. We're done. Be well, be good to yourself, and be good to others. And don't be afraid to be passionate. I love you very much. Be good, mate.